Hello, welcome back, and thank you for joining me today. I'm delighted that you're here for a number of reasons. First and foremost is the fact that you've answered the call of our inner teacher. So, for that, I'm profoundly grateful to you. And every other living thing is also profoundly grateful to you, whether they choose to say that or not. So happens that I'm saying that. They may not choose to acknowledge it or even know, and it doesn't matter. What is going on here is that you're interested in this series of practices, this series of things that we refer to as the spiritual path, whatever its outward manifestations may take. Whatever that looks like, really, there are many, many spiritual traditions in this world, from the traditional religions to non-traditional spiritual traditions to some that are relatively newer in time. So whatever that looks like, is the fact that you've heard the call of our inner teacher, which you may or may not have been consciously aware of at the time. And in fact, it's possible that you didn't pay it much mind at the time. You just thought, and you formulated the thought, and you knew that there's more to it than just what passes for life in this world. A daily routine of waking up, going to the bathroom, eat, drink water, work, check email, check more email, check our smartphones, because there's something on there that we need to look at, and then check our smartphones because we want to, and again because we want to, and then again a third, a fourth, a 200th time because it's habit. Right? There's much more to it than all of this. You know this, and you're here. So what I want to talk about today is something that I often I find myself enmeshed in a conversation about life as a living, breathing, waking meditation. So let's talk about that. And what do I mean by that? Well, meditation is clearly a thing in global society. It is. It has been adopted by numerous people that don't appear on the surface to have anything to do with the spiritual path, though, of course, the spiritual path is pretty much all encompassing. So they do have a lot to do with it. You want to know how I know they have a lot to do with it? Your brother is you. There's only perfect oneness. So, of course, they have a lot to do with it. But here's what's cool and what's really interesting is that meditation is being viewed in a positive light, or at least in a tolerable light by more and more people throughout the world, which can't be a bad thing at all, can it? It is never harmful for us to calm our mind. Ever, is it? The opposite doesn't hold. It can be quite harmful to have a frantic mind. We don't make good decisions when we're in a panic. So, quite naturally, if we chill out a little bit, better, more loving things tend to happen. So, we see a proliferation of meditation or mindfulness practices in this world. We see meditation practiced in a number of traditional religious and spiritual systems. Think of Buddhism, for example, where there's a lot of meditation. In fact, that's where the apparent action is. Isn't it? Yoga, same thing. And there's a lot of it out there. So let's take a look at it from the standpoint of A Course in Miracles and the study and practice of this course. If you're going through the workbook for students, you'll notice, and perhaps you've done this several times, I don't know, a number of you have been studying this material for many decades. So you'll notice that the practice periods, as they're called in the workbook, are in fact meditation sessions. It's what they are, and you are welcome to call them a practice period, or you're welcome to call it my ACIM, or doing the workbook, or the workbook thing, or whatever moniker suits you. They're sometimes short, sometimes many minutes long, right? What the workbook does is it talks about an idea for the day that's known as a lesson, and we're invited to apply the suggested practice periods. Now, if you're not going through the workbook and you're doing the text or the manual for teachers or the 2 supplements to the course, whatever your study and practice under the guidance of your inner teacher looks like, whatever that looks like for you, it's worthwhile to think of your entire life experience as a living, breathing, waking meditation. We compartmentalize meditation because in a formal setting, let's take the example of a classic seated meditation session that one might undergo in a Buddhist practice or a workbook lesson practice, or a yoga studio, or something like that, you know, where there appears to be a set start time and end time. Let's just take that as an example. When our mind wanders, not if, clearly not if, but when our mind wanders, we're instructed and invited to bring our awareness back to the object of meditation, whatever that is. Classically, it would be the breath, because it's something that we hopefully are experiencing right now. And we hopefully have time for the next one. And we can use that as an anchor, in a manner of speaking, for our awareness. When we notice we're distracted, we simply bring our awareness back. And we do this as many times as we notice ourselves distracted. There could be vast periods of time in a meditation practice where we're thinking about tomorrow's lunch, yesterday's dinner. We're thinking about the trip that we have to pack for. We're thinking about how the dog needs to go to the bathroom. We're thinking about how our ankle hurts or our knee itches, and do I scratch it or not, or will that be distracting? And our mind goes off for several minutes sometimes. And we wind up thinking about all kinds of things. When we notice that we're thinking about all kinds of things, we kindly and right then and there just bring our awareness back to the object of meditation. Life is exactly like this. When we notice ourselves carried away, judging, blaming others, scrolling our social media feed and condemning people's posts, and condemning the people that wrote those posts, whether they actually mean whatever vitriol they've typed out or not. What's important to recognize is that you're making the separation real by blaming them and condemning them, even though their behavior may be completely unhelpful or even idiotic. When you notice yourself swept away by the supposed torrent of life, you bring your awareness back to the object of meditation. What is that? Is that forgiveness of the Son of God? Is that a mantra or a word or a single syllable? One. That can be an anchor, can't it? We're all one. There is only perfect oneness. There are many phrases here in A Course in Miracles that will serve as a practical anchor. Forgiveness serves as a practical anchor. Connection with our inner teacher serves as an important practical anchor. There are many different things that you can return your awareness to when you notice yourself distracted. There is no difference between a seated meditation state, a formal meditation practice, and life. There is no difference at all. When you notice yourself distracted and carried away, you bring your awareness back to the object of meditation. It is just that simple. Now, of course, we get sidetracked. Expect that. We get carried away in our job, in email, in all kinds of stuff in life, and we don't remember the object of meditation. However, when you do, because you will, when you do, bring your awareness back to it, even if it's just for a second. That's why meditation training is a thing in many world spiritual traditions. It's why it's a thing in Buddhism. And it's why it's a thing here in A Course in Miracles. It's because there's no difference between a waking and a sleeping state here in the world. This is a waking dream. We have dreams within the dream. There's no difference between sitting on a meditation cushion, in a manner of speaking, and getting off the cushion. This is how we take our practice off the cushion. If you're a yoga student, it's how we take it off the mat. Life is our practice, isn't it? When we notice ourselves distracted, we bring our awareness back to the object of meditation, to the object of our practice. Each and every time that we notice. The seated, formal, on the cushion, on the mat, listening to a guided meditation on an app or something, whatever the setting of that is, this formal meditation practice is no different than the rest of life. All of it is equally illusory. And all of it is equally an opportunity in the present moment to choose the strength of Christ, to choose the guidance of our inner teacher instead of the guidance of the little ego that knows absolutely nothing and doesn't serve as a reliable guide in any way. It's exactly the same as sleeping at night or taking a nap and having a dream and waking up from that dream. This is still a dream. This is a dream. Everything that we see in the world, including the world itself, space-time, universes, galaxies, solar systems, all that celestial stuff, all those things out there, all the phenomena are a dream. Spiritual practice is our awakening from the dream. That's why it's called awakening. And you could choose to call it realizing God or knowing God or enlightenment or whatever you wish to describe that in words. The experience is beyond words. It's beyond all concepts, beyond language, far beyond language. Yet it can be experienced right here, right now. When else? Where else? There is no place else. So we have a very powerful choice to choose our inner teacher, to choose love instead of fear, to choose God instead of the ego, to choose truth instead of illusion. A very powerful choice indeed. Hence the importance of a meditation or mindfulness style practice, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call that. When you notice yourself distracted by ego clinging, bring your awareness back to your inner teacher. Just bring it back. And when you notice yourself distracted, another important point here as a practical matter is you're not wrong for being distracted. You're not doing this wrong. You're not a bad person. You're not incapable of meditation, and you're not doing life incorrectly. Forgive yourself when those thoughts or something similar pop into your mind, because expect it. They're gonna. And that's where we get the litany of things that we tell ourselves that are completely unhelpful, such as, oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for my next breath. I can't meditate. Uh-oh, that's really true. I can't meditate. More like you choose not to. Everyone can. We all can. And we're invited to continue as we forgive the Son of God, the world, what appears to be outside of us. We're invited not to neglect forgiving ourselves for dreaming it. Forgive yourself if you don't practice the workbook idea for the day. If you do it once and it calls for practice periods every hour on the hour, for example, and you forget them all until the next day when you open it up, so what? Forgive yourself. That can be one of the best lessons that this course could ever teach you. Do the workbook wrong in your mind, wrong. Yeah. Forget lessons. Forgive yourself. Oh my God. Yeah. How about that? Forget lessons. Forgive yourself. What if you did that more often? Because this really is a living, breathing, waking meditation. So, in closing, when you notice yourself distracted, bring your awareness back to your relationship with your inner teacher. Bring your awareness back to love with a capital L. Bring your awareness back to forgiveness of the Son of God. All right. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and for joining me. So, what I was going to mention at the outset and got, of course, carried away in recording happens is that my wife Cindy and I are currently on a cruise in the Caribbean, and this video is pre-recorded along with a handful of videos that I'm going to continue to release during the 10 days or so that we're gone, just so we can continue to have some consistency in our study and practice of this course. Because after all, if we accept that this life can be likened to a living, breathing, waking meditation, consistency is super important, isn't it? So if you have comments or questions, please feel welcome to leave them here. I would be happy to answer any of those. And if you want to just pop in and say hello, then you're more than welcome to do that too. Now, if you haven't subscribed already, here's the subscription arrow here in the corner of your screen. Go ahead and click that, because we'd love to have you join us. And I will see you all again very soon. Thanks again for joining.